Good morning, everybody. This is Yin Yang with Morsels of a Thought number 1206. This computer is set pretty precariously at the moment, but I am here. I tried to go on Instagram. Uh, there's more to do for that. I haven't got it there yet, but at this moment, my computer is currently also precariously working on this. I don't know if I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me now because the screen is jumping all over the place. However, I do have another. I couldn't find my book this morning, so instead of grass soup, we're going to do some quotes on Zhang Yimou. Um, Zhang Yimou was the director that I quoted a few days ago, last week, and he is the guy that did a few movies that he's a little older he's probably about my age, somewhere around that age, and he has been famous in China. He's also famous in the United States as being one of the first few directors that got known here. Good morning, John Clark. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me. I'm so glad. I am glad. So for thousands of years, he says, there's been a tradition of teaching us in China to think in terms of the collective experience. So we are rarely able to act in accordance with personal desires or emotions. Now, young people, especially under Western influences, have become much more interested in themselves and their own values. That's interesting that he says that because when he was growing up, that wasn't necessarily the case. Um, he says also, there was this one that I want to find that he said that he works under. Anyway, I'll just keep on reading. Many things, feelings especially, are common to all human beings as long as the film appeals to universal human feelings, all audiences will enjoy it. Western audiences can gain an impression of China from my films. This is an excellent channel for promoting China's culture. Yes, it is. And what he shows us is pretty often a very, stark, harsh part of Chinese culture. The film that he wrote, that he directed, called To Live, is one where there's this widow, and she becomes a widow because of this man that is raised by her or something, raised by her husband. Her husband is this quadru he has no limbs, he has no arms and legs, and she has to take care of him, and she's married to him because of economic things, that she gets married off to him so that he can have somebody to take care of him. And he raises a child that he has adopted somehow, and this child actually gets sexually involved with the wife. And To Live is a very harsh, stark photo of Chinese culture where some really, if you're not ready for harsh realities of life, you can't watch a film like that one. But there is a good one about, what's that one called? Um, Red sorghum, Sorghum. That one is about a kind of wine, red sorghum wine, and it's put into the time setting of the Japanese invasion of China into central China. And it's about a couple. Again, the same woman stars in it. I can't remember her name, but she's very beautiful. Um, and it has a lot of war photos. It's got some war scenes in it, so he's got some interesting stuff. Anyway, here's another one that he did. He says, to Western audiences, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, for example, is seen as something very refreshing to see man powered flight, kung fu. But now there are more and more of these kinds of films. American movies have also begun to adopt these kinds of scenes with people flying. So, after watching lots of these films, people will get used to seeing these exaggerated this exaggerated artistic style, and it won't be so strange anymore. When I was a child, I used to watch Chinese films in Chinatown. My parents would take us to these kung fu movies, and we saw people flying all the time. They'd be jumping way up in the air and doing a somersault about 30 feet up, and then coming back down, and then going, ha, and killing somebody. They weren't unrealistic, but they were certainly unrealistic. I'll tell you that. I mean, a cat couldn't do a better job. Okay, he said, I had my first feature film as late as when I was 37, so I've got no time to duplicate. Mm. And he says something. He gives a shout out to a very famous Japanese director. He says something about Akira Kurosawa. In Chinese, the name is Hei Zheming. Other filmmakers have more money, more advanced techniques, more special effects, yet no one has surpassed him. Now, Akira Kurosawa did Ran. If you've ever seen the film called Ran, Ran, it's a Japanese interpretation of King Lear, the story King Lear. You know, the King Lear who was the king whose three daughters, Goneril and somebody. Only the last daughter was faithful to the father. The other two just wanted his kingdom. Um, anyway, King Lear, the story was adapted into a Japanese film, and that was directed by Akira Kurosawa. And there was this one scene where this guy has his arm cut off in a war scene. This is another war scene by Akira Kurosawa, a different director, and he's holding his arm up in front of him and just going, oh, that was the most intense part of the film, that particular film. Okay, and then one more quote by Zhang Yimou. um, when I look back at the times I shot artistic movies, I found I learned quite a lot from them. So in the future, I hope to do both, make more personal films, which I prefer, and in certain circumstances, I will shoot some other commercial movies like these two, Hero and House of Flying Daggers. House of Flying Daggers, I've never even heard of. And if you heard that little tumble just a while ago, that happened to be Esri falling back behind the piano. So here I am reading about all these action movies and people flying around and talking about how cats can't do better. And then there's a cat tumbling down behind the piano. I think that's a pretty good special effect. Anyway, I hope I've entertained you a little bit this morning, imparted a little bit of interesting knowledge, and entertained you just a little bit. Alrighty, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, old Kinderhook. As she climbs back out.